and Louisiana were the most similar ballot initiatives that we looked at in context and style, outcome and tone. The victories around Amendment 4 that restored voting rights to people who had been formerly incarcerated in Florida was precedent setting. And similarly in Louisiana, thousands of people's convictions were overturned and sent home because they had been unfairly persecuted with non-unanimous juries.
When you ask me about the state of play in criminal justice in Florida, the same as it's always been, right? Designed to separate access to democracy from people of color, particularly African Americans.
As a result of the Jim Crow era and all the institutions that were built to maintain slavery, Florida was still one of the last few states in the Union that did not automatically or clearly allow people who had former felony convictions to regain their voting rights.
The journey that led me to work on Amendment 4 came from my personal experience as a returning citizen or someone who has been formerly convicted of a felony offense.
Some of the field work that Desmond did was really helping people connect their story into what the path to freedom looked like in the state of Florida. And that, I think, really is what made it real, because people, when they heard FRRC, they knew it was them and their people.
The first thing I thought about was maybe those 1.5 million people can't vote, but I bet you they have at least 5 people who love them. And so I thought that if I could organize returning citizens to organize their loved ones, whether they're the family members or friends who have the ability to vote, and get them to pledge to vote on their behalf, I could bring 1 million or more people to the front of the line who are registered voters saying, give them their rights back, and it'll be a different conversation then.
Louisiana voters will decide if juries must reach a unanimous verdict to convict someone of a felony.
Louisiana is one of only 2 states that does not require a unanimous verdict.
It was personal for me because I went to prison with a 10-2 verdict. There was a broad coalition that came together from both left and right.
Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, they all kind of came together and said, the practice really violates the Bill of Rights.
We started to put together a coalition of folks to want to work on this campaign.
We had a couple of problems that we had to overcome. That field was so critical because most people didn't even know that Louisiana was a state that convicted people with non-unanimous juries. There was this tension between groups on the ground and what the messaging needed to be in the field program, and what would actually move people versus what people felt like was necessary to not make this a black or white thing.
People did not want us to tell our story. And we were like, but it is what it is, you know? It was kind of like born out of racism. And so we decided that y'all chart y'all course, we're gonna chart ours. First thing is that you got to see me as an equal partner. You can't just continue to see me as the grantee. Although that relationship is going to be there, these relationships can't be just transactional.
In Florida, we had the same people losing cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle, and they were still getting the contracts after contracts. The most important thing is that you have got to give us room to fail.
These 2 ballot initiatives remind us that it is not our responsibility to go in and determine for other people what it is that they should say to people in their communities to turn them out to vote. Rather, those most impacted need to be engaged and informed and frankly mobilized to grab these ballot initiatives as opportunities to be seen and heard in communities that have tried and often won at making them invisible.